8 Most Notorious Pirates. Number 8. Black Sam. Pirates are often talked about in literature and portrayed in movies, traveling the seas, living the dream of getting rich quick with no rules. Captain Samuel Bellamy went by a few aliases, such as Prince of the Pirates and the Robin Hood of the Seas. This pirate was born in Devonshire, England in 1689, and began sailing at a young age with the Royal Navy, gaining battle experience during several battles. In 1715, he set sail west to Cape Cod, Massachusetts to begin his life in the New World. A year later, he decided to seek the riches of the rumored Spanish galleon that had sunk with a large amount of treasure on board. After this idea didn't work out, he began his life of piracy, eventually to become the wealthiest pirate in all the land. He successfully seized a large vessel known as the legendary Whydah and gold treasures, indigo, and ivory. Sam was eventually executed for piracy, and centuries later, the Whydah was resurfaced with his gold treasures still on board. This was found off the coast of Cape Cod. The flag he sails on top of his ship is now synonymous with portrayals of pirates in the media. Number 7. Calico Jack. Another pirate from England, born Jack Rackham, he gets his nickname for his calico clothing he wore, not to be confused with Captain Jack Sparrow. He made a career plundering smaller ships that were coming close to shore in the Caribbean, and well known for recruiting 2 female pirates. One was named Mary Read, who often dressed like a man to conceal the fact that she was a woman. Calico Jack set up base in Nassau, Bahamas, where many pirates enjoyed spending time. In 1719, Rackham and his crew took a big score when he plundered the merchant ship known as the Kingston, and managed to enrage many people in the process. Needless to say, this guy enjoyed himself some booty. The successful pirating run wouldn't last too long, however, and hunting boats eventually captured him and his rum-fueled crew. Calico Jack was hanged in Port Royal, Jamaica, while his female crew was spared since they were pregnant. The legacy of Calico Jack lives on in modern times, with the skull and swords flag he used quite often to symbolize pirates. He's also made some appearances in video games like Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Number 6. Captain Kidd. A well-respected privateer, Captain Kidd set sail for the Indian Ocean, originally to hunt down pirates. However, he couldn't resist the pirate lifestyle and turned into one himself. Him and his loyal crew managed to capture an impressive Indian merchant vessel known as the Kara Merchant in 1698. Who belonged to a close acquaintance of the leader of India. Kidd eventually used this as his own ship. The large amount of plunder was divided equally among the crew. The poor conditions on board, however, led to his crew catching cholera, and his ship suffered from many leaks. He was rumored to have left a large amount of treasure on the island of Madagascar, and would return to get it once he had rebuilt his crew and ship again. This was never found, and people even hoaxed the president of Madagascar by saying they found it. Here in this photo, you see one of Captain Kidd's cannons that was discovered off the coast of the Dominican Republic. Kidd eventually was captured and hanged in London as an example of what happens to no-good dirty pirates. Number 5. François L'Olonnais. This French buccaneer cruised the Caribbean Sea during the 1660s and had a particular taste for blood. He wreaked much havoc on Spanish settlements and sacked the town of Maracaibo in modern-day Venezuela. And him and his crew breached the fort called San Carlos de la Barra that contained 16 cannons. He got the nickname the Flail of the Spanish for seizing a large amount of treasure from them. A little bit on the crazy side, Francois apparently enjoyed torture and was quite good at it. He was even accused of literally eating a Spaniard's heart, qualifying him as a certified cannibal. They then went on to San Antonio de Gibraltar and killed 500 Spanish soldiers. Despite them being outnumbered, they seized a large amount of treasure in the process. Rumor has it that karma got the best of Francois, and he was eaten by a tribe of natives in present-day Honduras. Number 4. Black Bart. Bartholomew Roberts, better known as Black Bart, was actually forced into a life of piracy, but it seems like he was a natural at it. He was the captain of a ship that was overrun by pirates and had to become part of their crew. His navigational skills and overall knowledge about the ships at that time made him a perfect candidate to lead a crew of drunken pirates. He's rumored to have had plundered 400 ships, including British naval boats, and captained well-armored, nearly indestructible boats. He got the nickname of Pistol Proof by his crew for his bravery. Here in this photo, we see his flag that shows him standing on 2 skulls. His pirate ship was caught raiding as far north as Nova Scotia and as far south as Brazil. Captain Roberts was killed during a battle off the coast of Africa by what's known as Grapeshot. This is when many projectiles are fired from a cannon at one time. The rest of his crew were captured and hanged. Number 3. Sir Henry Morgan. You might know this next guy as Captain Morgan, who's featured on the delicious bottles of spiced rum. But did you know he actually existed? Besides making ugly girls look prettier, he was the captain of many ships, and owned quite a bit of land to produce his well-known commodity. Henry Morgan was a Welsh privateer, meaning that he engaged in piracy under the Commission of War, and got to keep the plunder for himself and crew. He raided Spanish settlements like Maracaibo, but his most lucrative raid came in Panama City in 1671 in response to Spanish attacks on English trade ships. The Spanish lost a huge number, even despite Morgan's crew being outnumbered nearly 5 to 1. They managed to plunder nearly 400,000 pesos and took much of the city's wealth. Since his piracy was technically legal, he was able to serve a role in Jamaican politics. He passed away in 1688 as a wealthy man. This was most likely due to cirrhosis of the liver, probably getting too high from his own supply. Number 2. Blackbeard. Possibly the most notorious pirate of all time, Blackbeard was born as Edward Teach, and he struck fear to the hearts of many. Just by seeing his flag waving at the top of his boat would run chills down the spines of many sailors. He commanded 4 ships and had a pirate army of 300 scoundrel pirates. One of his ships, known as the Queen Anne's Revenge, that would have looked something like this photo, was actually discovered off the coast of North Carolina. This was a remarkable find for our archaeology, and gave us an in-depth look of what kind of equipment this legendary pirate owned. This was originally a French slave vessel captured by the crew. Here we see one of the 5 cannons that were discovered, finally seeing the light of day once again. The cannon was actually made in Sweden, and he had guns from different countries on board. Here we see the giant anchor being lifted that weighs nearly 3,000 pounds. Other things like medical supplies like this syringe were found, showing that he was a carrying pirate too. This ship met her watery grave when Blackbeard was surprised and attacked by the British. Only having a crew of about 25 men at the time, he was vastly outnumbered. It took an estimated 5 musket ball wounds and 20 sword lacerations to bring down the notorious Blackbeard. Number 1. Sir Francis Drake. Sir Francis Drake was much more than a privateer. He was also an explorer and officially knighted by Queen Elizabeth. He carried out the second circumnavigation of the world in 1580, and this was all before the well-known golden age of piracy. Drake was a vice admiral in charge of an English fleet that destroyed a Spanish armada. Spain was his lifelong enemy, and he would often sack their settlements in Florida. During a raid on Cadiz and Corunna in Spain, he plundered 37 naval and merchant ships. He also sailed around the Cape of Good Hope and claimed the western coast of the Pacific for the Queen. However, he wasn't the most successful pirate of all time and failed a few campaigns in Spanish America. This would lead to his eventual downfall. The Spanish were the victors during the Battle of San Juan in Puerto Rico in 1585. He then set sail to Panama, where he died of natural causes. Many buried treasures might still be out there, folks, and this guy in British Columbia came across one of Drake's coins.